जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Guru Puja ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Padaya Parahamsa Vairaja Stora Srimad Abhay Charana Vrindavan. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Padaya Parahamsa Vairaja Stora Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Thakur ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem Saho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Garadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Gobaran ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Natur Dham ki jai. Mathura Dham ki jai. Dwarka Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Maya ki jai. Yamuna Maya ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi Maharani ki jai. Sama Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assemblage of devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assemblage of devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assemblage of devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravadi Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtare Shatarini. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opened my darkened eyes and filled my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scripture sings of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Vrindaye Tulsi Devyaye Priyay Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavachai Namo Namah. Vrindaye Tulsi Devyaye Priyay Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavachai Namo Namah. Vrindaye Tulsi Devyaye Priyay Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavachai Namo Namah. Shrimati Vrindadevi Tulsi Maharani Ki. Namo Preyasi Namo Namah. Radha Krishna Seva Pavo E Abhilashi.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo E Abhilasi.
Ye tomara sharanaloy tara vancha purna ho.
Ye tumhara sharanalo tara vancha purna ho.
Kripa kori koro tare Vrindavana vasi.
Kripa kore koro tare Vrindavana vasi.
Morae Abhilas Vilas kunje diova.
Abhilas Vilas kunjatiyava.
Nayane herivo sada Yugala ruparashi.
Nayane hirvo sara Jogala ruparasi.
Eni vedana dhara Sakiranugata koro.
Eni vedana dhara Sakhi anugata koro.
Sevadhikara diye dasi.
Sevare kara diye karane jadasi.
Dina Krishna dasi koi ye namo raho.
Dina Krishna dasi ko ye jinamo raho.
Shri Radha Govinda preme sadaye navasi.
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 Kani kani cha papani Brahma hatari kani cha tani kani pranashanti pradakshina
Vikari cha papale.
Yani kani cha papani Brahma hatadi kani cha tani tani pranashante pradakshina pade pade.
Pranashante parikshana pate pare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani. Jai Tulsi Devi Maharani ki jai. Vrindaye Tulsi Devi Aye Priyaye Keshavasacha Vishnu Bhakti Pare Devi Satyavate Namo Namaha. Vrindaye Tulsi Devi Aye Priyaye Keshavasacha Vishnu Bhakti Pare Devi Satyavate Namo Namaha. Vrindaye Tulsi Devi Aye Priyaye Keshavasacha Vishnu Bhakti Pare Devi Satyavate Namo Namaha. Tulsi Devi Maharani ki jai. O Tulsi, beloved of Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My desire is to obtain the service of Sri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you has his wishes fulfilled. Bestow your mercy on him. You make him a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also grant me the resident in the pleasure groves of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me the follower called damsels of Braj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lonely servant of Krishna praise, may I always swim in the love of Sri Radha and Govinda. Tulsi Devi Maharani ki jai. Tale Srimate Bhakte Vedanta Swami Niti Namine नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवारी पश्चारेशतारिणे Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Parama Karuna Jaya Nitai Kar Chanja Jaya Parama Karuna Jaya Nitai Kar Chanja.
Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra.
Jaya Parama Karuna Jaya Nitai Kar Chanja Jaya Parama Karuna Jaya Nitai Kar Chanja.
Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra.
Jaya Yashora Damodara Yashora Damodara Yashora Damodara Yashora Damodara.
Jaya Yashoda Damodara, Yashoda Damodara, Yashoda Damodara, Yashoda Damodara.
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Mantra Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
From the Vaishnava Songbook. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So last Friday, which was the day before yesterday, Friday the 28th, was the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement. And of course during this month here, we are continuing to observe the month of Damodar. So during this week also will be a few auspicious days that are upcoming. From on Tuesday it will be Gopashtami. So this Kartik month just have like a week and a half more until the 8th of November. So for this upcoming week we have on Tuesday the 4th Tuesday will be the 1st, it will be Gopashtami. the disappearance of Sri Gadadhar Das Goswami, Dhananjaya Pandit, Srinivas Acharya. So these are all associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then, well, 4th of November, which will be Friday, will be Ekadashi, as well as the disappearance of Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who is the spiritual master of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Friday, 4th of November also will mark the beginning of the Bhishma Panchak. So these are like upcoming auspicious days. So as you can see, a lot of the acharyas' disappearance are happening during this time. So we'll be doing one bhajan, Oe Vaishnava Thakur, by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So this is a bhajan which glorifies the Vaishnavas, how merciful they are, how powerful they are, and how much we need their blessings. So we'll read the translation first. The translation, O Venerable Vaishnava, O Ocean of Mercy, be merciful unto your servant. Give me the shade of your lotus feet and purify me. So there are different things that are very special about Vaishnavas. The dust of the feet of Vaishnavas, and also different other holy substances such as prasad or remnants of Vaishnavas, and also water that has bathed the feet of Vaishnavas, of the spiritual master. These are all very powerful. I hold on to your lotus feet. Teach me how to control my 6 senses, rectify my 6 faults, bestow upon me the 6 holy qualities, good qualities, and offer unto me the 6 kinds of holy association. I do not find the strength to carry on alone the Sankirtan of the holy name of Hari. Please bless me by giving me just one drop of faith with which to obtain the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours, you have the power to give him to me. I am simply running after you, behind you, shouting, Krishna, Krishna. So this is the mercy of Vaishnavas, of the devotees. By their blessings, by the blessings of our acharyas, we can, we can obtain the mercy of Krishna through his holy names. For now, we might say that we already have the holy names. What do you mean by obtaining the holy names? So the idea is that when we'll become determined to chant the holy names, when we'll experience taste, or taste for chanting, that is what it means by obtaining the holy name. So by the mercy of these acharyas, by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, we will able to have that, or to taste the holy name when we chant. So here it mentions about these different 6 urges are mentioned, 6 faults, 6 good qualities, and 6 types of association. So we'll read these also. So the 6 urges are those of speech, the mind, anger, the tongue, the belly, and genitals. And the 6 faults are overeating, collecting more monetary funds than required, over-endeavoring for material objectives, unnecessary talking about mundane subject matters, being too attached to or too neglectful of scriptural rules and regulations, associated with worldly minded persons, and lusting after mundane achievements. So those are 6 things which we should avoid, and 6 good qualities which we should endeavor for is enthusiasm, patience, confidence, determination to perform activities favorable to devotional service, the resolution to abandon the association of non-devotees, and the discipline required to always follow in the footsteps of predecessor acharyas. So the 6 kinds of holy association. So this is what we do when we come together, are giving and receiving gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, and posing confidential questions concerning devotional service, and accepting and offering spiritual food. So if you have the bhajan, you can follow along with us. Oye Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Eda Sikaruna Kori Oye Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Eda Sikaruna Kori Oye Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Eda Sikaruna Kori
Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Eda Sikaruna Kori
Diya Padachaya Shodhaya Maya Tumara Charana Dori
Diya Padachaya Shodhaya Maya Tumara Charana Dhori
Diya Padachaya Shodhaya Maya Tumara Charana Dori
Diya Padachaya Shodhaya Maya
Charana Dori Oye Vaishnava Thakura Dhoyara Sagara Eda Sikaruna Kori
Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Eda Sikaruna Kori
Chaya Vigadomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Dehodasi
Chaya Vegadomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Dehodase
Chaya Vigadomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Dehodasi
Chaya Vegadomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Dehodase
Chaya Satsanga Dehoe Amare Boseche Sangirashe
Chaya Satsanga Deho He Amare Boshechi Sangera Ashe
Chaya Satsanga Dehoe Amare Boseche Sangirashe
Chaya Satsanga Deho He Amare Boshechi Sangera Ashe
Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Bhala Hari Nama Sankirtane
Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Bala Hari Nama Sankirtane
Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Bala Hari Nama Sankirtane
एकाकी हमारा नहीं पाया बाला हरि नामा संकीर्तने
তুমি কৃপা করে সাধা বিন্দু দিয়া দেহ কৃষ্ণ নামাধানে
তুমি কৃপা করে শ্রদ্ধা বিন্দু দিয়া দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ধানে
তুমি কৃপা করে সাধা বিন্দু দিয়া দেহ কৃষ্ণ নামধানে
তুমি কৃপা করে শ্রদ্ধা বিন্দু দিয়া দেহ কৃষ্ণ নাম ধানে
ওয়ে বৈষ্ণবতা পুরা ধোয়রা সগর এরাসি করুণা করি
ও হে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুরা দয়ারা সাগারা এরা সে করুণা করি
কৃষ্ণ সে তোমারা কৃষ্ণ হৃদে পারো তোমারা শক্তি আছে
কৃষ্ণ সে তোমারা কৃষ্ণ দিতে পারো তোমারা শক্তি আছে
কৃষ্ণ সে তোমারা কৃষ্ণ দিতে পারো তোমারা শক্তি আছে
কৃষ্ণ সে তোমারা কৃষ্ণ দিতে পারো তোমারা শক্তি আছে
আমি তো কঙ্গালা কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলে ডাই তব পাছে পাছে
আমি তো কঙ্গালা কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলে ধাই তব পাছে পাছে
আমি তো কঙ্গালা কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলে ডাই তব পাছে পাছে
আমি তো কঙ্গালা কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলে ধাই তব পাছে পাছে
ওয়ে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ারা সাগর এরাসি করুণা করি
ও হে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুরা দয়ার সাগরা এরা সে করুণা করি
ওয়ে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ারা সাগর এরাসি করুণা করি
ও হে বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর দয়ার সাগরা এরা সে করুণা করি
জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর
জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর
জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর
জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর
জয় জয় প্রভুপাদ 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 জয় প্রভুপাদ
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 जय राम Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari
Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana
Jaya Vrajajanaranjana
Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana
Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana
Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunda Vihari
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 Jaya Radha Madhava 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 Jaya Kunda Vihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Dari Jaya Girivara Dari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari
Jaya Yashoda Hare Krishna. So for those, we want to welcome all the devotees here this morning. It's a very cool morning. We had some showers. So as, for those who came in a little late, we are saying that we're continuing to observe the month of Kartik, and last week was Deepavali, and then we had on Wednesday was Govardhan Puja, and followed by that last Friday we had the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada. And for this upcoming week there are a lot more auspicious days. Like on Tuesday will be Gopashtami, and followed by many different a few of our acharyas, their disappearance as well. And then Bhishma Panchak will begins from November 4, that is Friday. So for this morning we'll be hearing one recording, one class, one presentation which Hari Kirtan will shortly share with us. And as you can see, it's just a handful of us here this morning, but we should nevertheless consider ourselves very fortunate to be here. So we'll be hearing one presentation on Srila Prabhupada. We just had his disappearance, which was last Friday. So Srila Prabhupada departed. He disappeared in 1977. So that's a few decades ago. But nevertheless, as you can see, his mission, the mission that he left is continuing, and it continues to grow, it continues to spread all over the world. And we are very fortunate to be part of it. And when these occasions come, like, the appearance, the disappearance of the Acharya is a time, is an opportunity for us to remember him, remember his legacy, and to be grateful to him. Because without gratitude, without being grateful to him, we would not have been here in the first place. We would not have get this opportunity to engage in devotional service. So this is how special it is. This is how glorious it is, that we should recognize this and also be grateful in our own way, and individually and collectively. So as they're getting ready, I remember there are many things we can say about Srila Prabhupada. The very word Prabhupada, I remember there is one incident, one pastime, that how in the beginning when Srila Prabhupada, when he came to America, he was not called Prabhupada. He was called Swamiji. If you read, there is a biography, autobiography of Swami Prabhupada, which is compiled by His Holiness Satsrup Maharaj. And there are many other biographies also, but this one, specifically the Lilamrita, in there we will read in the beginning days when Prabhupada came to America in 1965, he was not called Prabhupada, he was called Swamiji. To his initial followers, they used to refer to him as Swamiji. But later on, there was an incident whereby a few of the disciples, they were in a room conversation with him. And this one disciple, he was doing some studies on Sanskrit grammar basically. And he was finding out what is the meaning of different Sanskrit prefixes and suffixes. So that the suffixes are words that comes, or syllables of words that comes after the word, and prefixes is what comes before the word. So like if you say Swami and then you say G, G is like the suffix, the Swami. So like that, this disciple was finding out from Prabhupada, what about these, when to use different suffixes and when to use prefixes. Like one prefix you can think about, like if you want to address someone, you will use Shri, right? Shriman or Shrimati, like that. So then the disciple asked Prabhupada, he was called Swamiji then, what is the meaning of, G? So then Prabhupada said that G is third class. So now these disciples were thinking that if G is addressing you as third class, well, how can we better, what better name or what better, words can we use? So then Prabhupada thought for a moment, and then he said, Prabhupada, right? He didn't say Prabhupada, he said Gurudev. He said Gurudev first, and after some time he said Gurudev, Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. So now the devotees were not clear. They were thinking, well, if G is, third class, we have Gurudev or Guru Maharaj or Srila Prabhupada. These are, more appropriate words of respect. Which one to choose? Which one to choose from? So there are three now. There are three words he was given. So then, the devotees were inquiring now, which one should we use among those three names to address him? So he was hesitating, after some time. He was not telling, he was hesitating. But then after some time he said, you can call Srila Prabhupada. So what is the meaning of this Srila Prabhupada? Like, you will hear it all the time. We will refer to the founder Acharya of ISKCON as Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. So this Srila Prabhupada is explained one Bhakta Godhead magazine. So it mentions that Prabhupada, the meaning of Prabhupada means the master to whom all other masters sits close to. So you have one master and you have many other masters sitting close to him. It means that he's ready to enlighten or teach. Or he is the masters among so many other masters that may be present, that may exist. So like you see that everyone in this world, one way or the other, we are all, trying to be master or controller. Master means, someone who is in control, someone who wants to control, so like that. But, Prabhupada is a master in the sense that in giving spiritual knowledge, in giving us Krishna. Another meaning of this word Prabhupada also is that the one who is close to the lotus feet of Krishna. So Prabhupada is close to Krishna. So by us associated with Prabhupada books, all that, we, he can connect us to Krishna. So that is one, just about the meaning of the word Srila Prabhupada. So we'll hear Hari Kirtan, maybe you can, So we'll hear recording, a half an hour recording of presentation by Amarendra Prabhu.
Now today being the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada, very, very important day. Many times people ask this question that, well, we understand you celebrate somebody's birthday, but what culture is this where you celebrate somebody's departure day? Like, there's a festival in the temple and there's prasadam and there's kirtan. Like, why? It's almost like you're happy that someone has left. Sometimes we get those emails and some questions. So it's important to know that for great Vaishnava acharyas, there's nothing sad. For living beings like us, even the birth is painful. Death is painful. And life between birth and death is painful. It's another thing that we just, we want to mask all of that by baking a cake and putting candles and blowing it off and making the person forget. But it's actually a painful appearance that we make into this world for the mother, for the child, both. So every birthday is a day to introspect that how long am I going to be caged in this body? The soul doesn't need a subtle body and a gross body that we carry. Soul doesn't need it. It's like someone who doesn't have to carry a bag. He ends up carrying a bag of, like 150 or 180 or 200 pounds on the back. And he just walks around everywhere. And someone says, like, you don't have to carry this bag everywhere. Just drop it. He said, no, I need to carry it. And he's carrying, and his back is hurt because of that weight. And someone who's compassionate will think, let me just take this bag off his back. He will feel much better. He doesn't have to carry it. That's what the acharyas feel when they see us, that the soul is carrying the weight of this body while he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. Let me just relieve him of this pain by liberating him. That's what the acharyas feels. And that's why they come in this world. They don't have to come in this world, but they come in this world so that we stop coming in this world. If that makes sense. The acharya makes his appearance. The acharya takes birth so that we stop taking birth in this world. That's why they come. So for them, their appearance is glorious because they're coming not for their personal gain. We are coming again and again in different bodies because of our unfulfilled material desires. But the acharyas come in this world to purify us. And so their appearance is glorious. Their departure is also glorious. Why? Because the Krishna, the abode of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna that they left to come to be with us, now they are reunited in those pastimes. They are reunited in that planet. They are reunited with the same Krishna whom they left to save mankind. So their departure. So departure for a living entity is painful because that's end to all his plans, end to all of his ambitions. That's from dust we come, to dust we return. So for a conditioned soul, the house that he has made, the education, the money, the relatives, the family, he leaves behind everything. He goes completely zero. So it's painful. But for an acharya, it's victorious because he has done his service and he's gone back to Krishna. So therefore, even his departure is worth celebrating. Also an important point. You see in the life of an acharya, when he appears, most don't recognize him. When Krishna appears, everybody recognizes, right? When Krishna appears, Ramachandra appears, Mahaprabhu appears, everybody recognizes. When Nrsingadev appears from the pillar, you got to accept his divinity with the form that he has accepted. There's no need of making any astrological chart, nothing. Look, that is God right there in a form that has never been seen. So when Krishna appears, right at his appearance, people know. Like we see the classic case when Krishna enters the womb of Mother Devaki. What happens? Indra with all his associates, they recognize and they go to offer obeisances. Right? Indra with all his associates, they go close to the womb of Mother Devaki and they offer obeisances in that prison cell because they understand God has entered. Same with Ramachandra when he entered the womb of Mother Kaushalya. Demigods headed by Indra, they all came there to offer obeisances. Same for Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu entered the womb of Mother Shachi, she would see like ghost-like shadows and images. They were actually demigods described by our acharyas who would come to take darshan of Mahaprabhu as he was in the womb of his mother. So when Krishna comes, right at his appearance, everybody knows. But when pure Vaishnavas come, their appearance is so mystical that even demigods don't realize that they are acharyas. Where's the praman? Where's the proof? Prahlad Maharaj. When Prahlad Maharaj entered the womb of his mother, Kayadu, Indra went there with his associates to kill that baby, thinking that Hiranyakashipu's child will be another Hiranyakashipu, only to create havoc in this world. And Narad Muni had to go and stop Indra and say, no, he's actually going to be a great acharya. He's Prahlad Maharaj. So then Indra believed the word of Narada Muni and then let go of that plan. So the point is that Indra, who could recognize Krishna in the womb of Devaki, could not recognize Prahlad in the womb of his mother. Which means when Krishna appears, right at his appearance, his glory is told. Therefore, we don't celebrate disappearance of Krishna and Ramachandra and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although there's a specific astrological moment, you can calculate. This is the moment Krishna wound up his pastimes and he went. This is the moment where Ramachandra wound up his pastimes and he went. This is the specific moment where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wound up his pastimes and he left back to the spiritual world. We can astrologically maybe calculate, but never will you find a Vaishnav calendar which says disappearance day. of an avatar. Why? Because there is no need. Right at his appearance, his glory is known. So ultimately, the point is to know his glory. That's the point. So if the glory is known at the Ashtami Tithi or the appearance day, then there's no need to write a disappearance day, although the moment can be astrologically calculated. But for the Acharya, even at his appearance, his glory is not known. But at the time of his departure, when he leaves behind hundreds and thousands of devotees crying and drowning in the ocean of tears. So therefore, that disappearance day actually brings to light the glory of the Acharya. Even the appearance doesn't bring so much, because people don't know. They don't offer the obeisances to a child in a cradle because they don't understand he's the Jagat Guru. But when Srila Prabhupada left, can we imagine that was probably the most difficult sunset ever in history of mankind? The Acharya who came in this world to save mankind, when he departed, how his disciples and well-wishers and followers would have felt. I was rotting in the Boweries of New York City. I was rotting with illicit sex and meat eating and gambling and intoxication. I was high on drugs. I was completely distracted in life, not knowing what the purpose of my life is. And there comes the Swami from India, who doesn't know me, whom I didn't know, but he speaks the truth with compassion for my benefit, with no hidden ulterior motives. So many people have come and they have twisted and compromised on the philosophy to make it more suitable, time, place, circumstance. You don't have to wear the sannyas cloth. You can't say onion and garlic because, you got to be practical. They can't do so much. You can't just bring in tea and coffee. Just go step by step. Just tell them no hard liquor, then bring it to no beer, no wine, and then slowly to, no tea, no coffee. And then but Prabhupada, straight, no onion, garlic, no mushrooms, no tea, coffee. You take it or you leave it. I'm not here to impress you. I'm not here to get followers. I'm here to give you the truth, the pristine truth. And this is God. This is how he looks. This is how attractive he is. This is who I am to him. This is where he lives. This is why I am here. This is how I go back to him. Very clear. Otherwise, you can have so many books going back and forth with so many wishy-washy philosophy that, you can imagine God the way you like. It's that divine light within your heart. It's that sacred space that you create between your eyebrows. That's the chakra that's enlightened in your body. Forget it. It's not happening. It is not happening. Just tell them the truth. They take it, they take it. They don't like it, they don't like it. Yes, make it palatable, but tell them the truth. This is what Prabhupada did. And therefore, he could attract anyone and everyone because they could see that genuine compassion that he had. Srila Prabhupada could attract and almost compel that Mataji. When Prabhupada was 5 years old, he wanted a cart to make the Jagannath Rath Yatra, and that wonderful, wonderful devotional Mataji, that woman, was willing to just donate her cart to this 5-year-old Abhay Babu who wanted to preach and bring in a Rath Yatra, a cart festival at the age of 5. Prabhupada could win the heart of anyone and everyone and leave a permanent positive impression in their heart. Whether it is that devotional Vaishnavi when Prabhupada was 5 years old, or whether it's Sally Agrawal in America. His Holiness Indradimna Maharaj was explaining something very beautiful. He was explaining that one time an admiral from the French Navy came to meet Srila Prabhupada. And His Holiness Indradimna Maharaj got him to Prabhupada. And he told Prabhupada, a big admiral from the French Navy has come to see you, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada's eyes lit up. He said, yes, call him in. And then he came in and he was speaking to Srila Prabhupada. And they had a very, very, very heartfelt, moving, and deep conversation. And he asked Srila Prabhupada, if I have to read one book, what would that be? Prabhupada said, Bhagavad Gita. Then he said, I may not have time to read all the chapters. If there's one chapter I can read, which chapter would that be? And Prabhupada said, chapter 9. And Srila Prabhupada said, read it every day. And your life will become perfect if you just follow this chapter. And he took up Bhagavad Gita and he was reading that chapter. Now, many years later, even after Prabhupada had departed, there was a very big festival. And His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj was distributing books outside that festival. There were many distinguished guests in that festival. And the security was so strict that they wouldn't let the Hare Krishna devotees enter because they wanted to go and give the books and do some kirtan there. And the security was very strict. But little did Maharaj know, and the devotees know, that that admiral who had come to see Prabhupada from the French Navy was also part of that festival. And he was sitting ahead. And he somehow got up and he turned. And his eyes met with the devotees. And guess what happened? His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj, who had actually got him to meet Srila Prabhupada, his eyes met with the eyes of this admiral from the French Navy. And his eyes lit up. And he started walking towards the Hare Krishna, the ISKCON devotees. And he had his security, and he was such a big person that the crowd almost split in half as he was walking past. He came. This security said, well, we just want to make sure you're well protected. He said, don't worry, I have my guards with me. So where are you going? He said, I want to meet the Hare Krishna. I said, we stopped them from coming. He said, no, let them come. I know them. Now it was wonderful. The devotees got a free passage inside. And His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj, he met with this admiral. The admiral said, do you remember me? And Maharaj said, yes, I remember you for so many years. In the past, I had the fortune of getting you to Srila Prabhupada. And he said, yes, that was one of the best moments in my life when I met your guru. How is he, by the way? And Maharaj had to say that, it's been many years since he has departed. And as soon as he said that, that admiral who had never, he's not a practicing devotee, and he just met Prabhupada once. It's not that he started coming for the programs after that. There was absolutely no connection after that. As soon as he heard this, that Prabhupada had departed, there was like shooting tears from his eyes down his cheek. And he said, he was a very great soul. I was very touched by that conversation. That was one of the most important moments in my life. And His Holiness Indradumna Maharaj asked him, what happened to that Bhagavad Gita that Prabhupada gave you? He said, I still have it. And guess what? I read chapter 9 even till this very day. I read it every day. And my life changed after meeting your guru. Such a great soul. And then the conversation ended. So the point is, Srila Prabhupada was so uncompromising, speaking the truth in a palatable way, not in a blatant, rude way, but speaking the truth, bridging it and presenting it nicely, favorably for the audience, that he could touch souls anywhere and everywhere, all the time. Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj, who was, again, a very great soul, who knows Srila Prabhupada from the Radha Damodar days. He had a little place adjacent to Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. And therefore, he knows Srila Prabhupada from then. He said, Swami Maharaj used to live here. And I know Swami Maharaj from those days. And Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj was a very great soul. He was a pujari for about 78 years in his life. So you can imagine. Very great soul. And he's lived in Vrindavan all his life. He's no more. He's gone back to the spiritual abode. But when he did share his realizations and his memories of Srila Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada was very different. He had a very strict schedule that he followed. And what was his schedule like? He said at about 11 o'clock in the morning, he would return in the morning. Early in the morning, he would go to take darshan of the 7 temples, the Goswami temples. Of course, Prabhupada lived at Radha Damodar, so that's one of the temples. But apart from that, Radha Raman and Radha Gokulananda, Radha Shamsundar, Radha Gopinath, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govindadev. All these 6 temples, the 7 temples of the 6 Goswamis, Prabhupada would have darshan every day in the morning. And then after that, he would shop for some fruits and vegetables for his cooking and come back to his room at around 11 o'clock, mid-morning. And then he would cook his prasadam, his meal, 1 meal a day. Prabhupada would eat 1 meal a day, and that too in the afternoon. And in the evening, a cup or 2 of milk. That was Prabhupada's eating plan all day. So he would cook, and what would he cook? He would have rice and some chapatis and some sabji and dal. Simple. This is what he would have. Traditional. And he would offer it to Krishna, and he would accept it in his kitchen, in his room after cooking. Looking through the window, he would have Srila Rupa Goswami's samadhi, always meditating upon how will I fulfill this mission? How will I fulfill this instruction of Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur? How will I go to America? I don't know anyone. I don't have anything. And then after the meal, it's described Srila Prabhupada would rest for half an hour. And then he would continue with his chanting and his translations. And again in the evening, he would take darshan of some temples, and he would also hold kathas. He would speak Hari Katha in the courtyard of Radha Damodar temple, and many Brajvasis would come to hear. And interestingly, Srila Prabhupada spoke in English, and he could speak Hindi, he could speak Bengali, and hardly would anybody understand English there. Most of them understood Hindi and Bengali, which is what Prabhupada naturally spoke. Bengali because of his mother tongue, Hindi because that being the national language of India. But he was well educated in English because of the British rule, and Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur had told that you speak English so well, you should actually go to the Western world. Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur had asked one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, to go to America and preach. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj was an erudite scholar. Srila Prabhupada calls him his Siksha Guru. And he was very poetic, could articulate so wonderfully, could speak English like the flowing of a nectarian river. And Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur asked him to go to America. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, my heart is in Navadvip. And Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur said, yes, I know, I just wanted to ask. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj lived all his life in Navadvip. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur had requested and given this instruction to many. And many sincerely tried to. And Srila Prabhupada also tried. They did their bit, and Srila Prabhupada did his bit. And Srila Prabhupada took it to the Western world. And all of this this meditation was there at Radha Damodar temple. In the evenings, he would have this katha and speak in English. And they were thinking, actually, why is Swami Maharaj speaking in English? He can speak in Bengali or he can speak in Hindi. But only after the international preaching explosion took place did they understand, oh, our Swami Maharaj was actually practicing. He was practicing giving English classes so that in the Western world, he can express this so beautifully. So Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj would say that many times people would come to meet him, and Swami Maharaj would not want to meet them, because he wanted to sit and chant. So he would tell me, Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj writes, he would tell me to sit outside the door, and if anyone comes, tell them that he's not there. He's gone out. And our Prabhupada would be sitting inside, rolling his beads, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, chanting japa inside. He said, and at night, what was his plan? He said, I would hear loud crying, loud calls in the middle of the night. And being in the adjacent room of Radha Damodar temple, I was really curious to know what's happening. So I once climbed up, says Hridayananda Das Babaji. I climbed up on the roof to peek in to the courtyard of Rupa Goswami to see what's happening. And there I saw our beloved Swami Maharaj with a broom in his hand, sweeping the courtyard of Rupa Goswami with tears coming from his eyes. Hey Rupa, hey Sanatan, oh Jiva Goswami, how will I fulfill this order of my Guru Maharaj? I don't have anything with me. I don't have money. I don't have manpower. I don't have any skill. I don't know anyone. How will I take Srimad Bhagavatam in English? Srimad Bhagavatam has never been presented in English. I don't know how it's going to happen. Crying, you please empower me. Oh, Rupa Goswami, if you don't help me, I can't do anything. And Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj was expressing that in those cries were the seed of unbelievable compassion. Crying out for the crying welfare of the crying society. The society is crying out of distress, and Prabhupada is crying out of compassion, seeing the crying, pitiable, distress-filled society, devoid of Krishna consciousness. Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj was saying, I have lived in Vrindavan all my life. I've never seen anyone perform bhajan like Swami Maharaj. Many times he used to be so absorbed in chanting that he would forget to cook. And in those days, if he's very absorbed in cooking, then he would just depend on the prasad cooked in that temple that day. But he was very absorbed. And what comes out of his absorption in his chanting, in his reading, is what would come out in his translations and in his commentary. So then many years later, when Srila Prabhupada in 1972 came with his disciples to Radha Damodar temple, on that tape, when Srila Prabhupada spoke to his American boys and girls in the courtyard of Rupa Goswami in 1972 in the month of Kartik, Srila Prabhupada said, this is where it all began. I used to live here. I used to cook here. And I used to think, how is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? How will I fulfill the instruction of my Guru Maharaj? Srila Prabhupada said, even when I was in the tallest skyscraper of New York City, I was materially sitting on the highest position, but my heart was still yearning and crying in separation from this beautiful Radha Damodar temple, the courtyard of Srila Rupa Goswami's Samadhi, where it all began. Srila Prabhupada's words, Srila Prabhupada's books, Srila Prabhupada's teachings are still there. And that is what defines Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada was on the planet, he was constantly moving. One disciple said, Prabhupada, I want to just sit at your feet. Prabhupada said, that's not possible because my feet are always moving. I'm always traveling. So when Prabhupada was on the planet, he was traveling, and hardly did anyone get constant association with Srila Prabhupada except for the personal servants and the personal assistants. But most of them just saw Srila Prabhupada once or twice in their life, and they moved on with the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and other Vaishnava acharyas, and the following after that. So similarly, Prabhupada may have departed going back to the spiritual world as far as his transcendental form, manifested form is concerned, but he's always there with us. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj very famously said, and you can read this in a book called as My Revered Spiritual Master, written by Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, of his remembrances of Srila Prabhupada. There he mentions that the same hut where Srila Prabhupada came and lived with me in Bhubaneswar, even now when I go there at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can hear Srila Prabhupada dictate on his dictaphone. He's still here. And Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj used to say, can you hear? He would ask his disciple. They said, no. He said, are you deaf? Open your ear. He would say, you're deaf. That's why you're not able to hear. Open your ear and hear. You can hear Srila Prabhupada dictate even till today. He's not gone. He's still there. So Srila Prabhupada is there. It's just like if you have camphor completely tied up in a cloth. The camphor may go through sublimation, but the fragrance of the camphor remains in the cloth for all times to come. So Srila Prabhupada's presence may have been wound up and at the time of his departure, going back to the spiritual world, but the fragrance of Srila Prabhupada's presence in the form of his books, his instructions, his mood, his spirit of practicing Krishna consciousness and preaching Krishna consciousness. That's the fragrance, and that's what defines the camphor. He's still there with us. He's always there with us. So in this way, on the day of Srila Prabhupada's departure today, it is a day of great, great introspection. We have this inconceivable good fortune of being in line, Shiksha and Diksha line, coming from Srila Prabhupada. That Acharya whom Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose, Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj says, when Srila Prabhupada came with his disciples, and I got to know that our Swami Maharaj has now become a Jagat Guru, and he's the one chosen by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, I wasn't surprised. It was not at all surprising for me. He said, because there are some who practice, but they don't preach. And there are some who preach, but they don't practice. But there are some who practice and preach. And he said, our Swami Maharaj was like that. And therefore, Tumi Sarva Guru, Tumi Jagatera Arya. Sanatan Goswami told Haridas Thakur that there are some who chant, but they don't preach the glories of chanting. And there are some who preach the glories of chanting, but they don't chant themselves. But you, O Haridas, Achara Prachar, both you do. Therefore, Tumi Sarva Guru, Tumi Jagatera Arya. You are certainly Jagat Guru and the Guru of everyone, mankind at large. So, Srila Prabhupada is like that. He practiced very deep bhajan, very wonderful Vaishnava relationships, very deep chanting of the holy name. Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj also mentions that in the afternoon, when Prabhupada would wake up, what would he do in his schedule? He would go with Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj on the banks of the Yamuna with Kartal and Mridanga, and they would do kirtan there. So he who would see the darshan of the 7 temples and then cook, offer, take little rest, wake up, do kirtan, in the evening give classes, then translate, meet with devotees, then chant japa, and at night sweep and cry for mercy. He said he had impeccable sadhana. Like when you have to grab something, your hand must go there to take it. But when you know you can get it, you have to cry so that it can be given to you. Prabhupada was doing both. That wealth of prema, he was putting his hand to take it in the form of sadhana. And yet at the same time saying that I can't get it. So he was crying so that it can be given to him. And therefore, Hridayananda Das Babaji Maharaj says, I wasn't surprised that it was Prabhupada who was the chosen one. So today on the disappearance of Srila Prabhupada, let us very deeply ponder. Am I taking Prabhupada's preaching mission and Prabhupada's sacrifice for granted? Am I adding value? Am I personally practicing? Am I helping Prabhupada? If Prabhupada comes today and sits on this chair, will I have the integrity to face him and say that, yes, Prabhupada, this is your mood and this is what I'm practicing and this is what I'm trying to do for you? Or are we just moving around as devotees without actually imbibing the mood? This is something that we all should introspect today. We want to make our lives a life of sacrifice. We can never, ever, ever repay what Prabhupada has done for us. To sit on a ship at the age of 70 on a rocking ocean. Srila Prabhupada writes on the 10th of September 1965, today the sea is calm, but my heart is aching in separation from my Lord's Radha Damodar. The only solace I have in this cargo ship is the relishment of Chaitanya Charitamrita. I am traveling here just to fulfill the instruction of my spiritual master. Please empower me so that I can serve you. So that prayer of Srila Prabhupada is inconceivable. It's an expression of surrender. We can't repay. But all that we can pray is our life should be a sacrifice in fulfilling his instructions, practicing it ourselves, trying to share it with others, so that when we die and we are gone, and when we meet Srila Prabhupada, with a smile on his face, we can fall at his lotus feet saying, I tried. I never saw you, Srila Prabhupada, but the way you have transformed my life, I tried. Patita Pavan Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
for Arti ceremony. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Jaya Parama Karuna
Jai Shri Shri Paramakartai Gaur Chandra Ki.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Haraya Namah, Krishnaya Davaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnav Bhagavad Gita. Rupa Shri Sanatana Bhata Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopal Bhata Dasa Raghunath. Hari Haraya Nama Krishnaya Davaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Nama Krishnaya Davaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol.
Jam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacha Ishtadar Sada Shishrimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacha Ishtadar Sada Shishrimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Das Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunrada Kunagir Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Gadadhar Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Books Distribution Ki Jai. Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai. Shri Paramakartai Gaur Chandra Ki Jai. Samveda Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the symbol of devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the symbol of devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to the symbol of devotees Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashachari Jitarini.
Namaste Narasingaya. Daladadaine. Hiranyakashi Puravakshaha. Singo re dahena singo Narasimha manim sharanam prapate Avatara kamalavare nakam adbhuta shringa Dalita hiranyakashipo tanuvinda Keshavadita nadadirupa Jai Jagarisha Hare Jai Jagarisha Hare Jai Jagarisha Hare Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringa Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Srimati Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So at this time, we'll do Damodar Artik. So those of you who have been coming for the last few weeks, I'm sure you will remember the procedure. But if there's anyone who may not be aware, so basically we're having some ghee weeks in front here, and if you see in our altar in the middle, there's a picture of Mother Yashoda binding little Krishna or baby Krishna. So this form of Krishna is called Damodar. So when we come, we'll come in front and we'll be given, we purify our hands, our right hands. One devotee will pour some water, wash your hands. You'll take one of the lighted wick and you'll be offering it to Lord Damodar, this baby form of Krishna. So you'll be offering with your right hand, you'll be doing 4 circles to the feet of Krishna, 2 circles clockwise, 2 circles to his waist, 3 circles around his body, 3 circles around his head, and then 7 circles around his body. So we'll go it once again, so you'll get it. You're doing 4 to the feet, 2 to his abdomen, his belly, 3 to his head, and 7 times around his body. Then you can offer like 3 times to Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Srila Prabhupada, and the devotees. And the wick you will place, there's a rice plate in front here. You can put a lighted wick in here, and then you can come and bow down. So during that time, we'll chant Damodar Ashtakam. So maybe a few Prabhus, 4 or 5 persons can come at a time. Mataji is on that side, Prabhus on this side. Namamishwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Bhrajamanam
Ishwaram Sachit Anandarupam लसत्कुण्डलं गोकुले व्रजमानम्
यशोदाभियोलोकलदवमानम् परमिष्टमत्यन्ताचोदृत्य गोप्या यशोदाभियोलोकलदवमानम्
परामृष्टमात्यन्तातो द्रुतगोप्या
रोदन्तमोहर्नित्रयुग्ममृजन्तम् करम्बुजयोग्मिना शताङ्कनेत्रम्
रुदन्तमुहुर्नेत्रयुग्ममृजन्तम् कराम्भुजयुग्मेन शताङ्कनेत्रम्
मोहस्वासकं पात्रिरेकाङ्ककन्ता स्थितग्रीवं दामोदरं भक्तिवरम्
मोहशासकं पात्रिरेकाङ्ककन्ता स्थितग्रीवं भक्तिवदम्
इति दीक्षालीलाभिरनन्दकुन्ये स्वगोषमीमाजन्तम् आख्यापयन्तम्
ईदृक्स्वालीलाभिरानन्दकुन्दे स्वगोषमीमाजन्तम् आख्यापयन्तम्
हरेशितागेषु भक्तजिताद्वा पुनः प्रेमातस्तं शतवृत्तिवन्दे
हरेशितानेषु भक्तिर्जितात्वं पुनः प्रेमातस्तं शतवृत्तिवन्दे
वरं देवा मोक्षं न मोक्षवरिं वा न चन्यं व्रेनेहं वारिषरपिह
परं देवा मोक्षं न मोक्षवदिं वा न चान्यं वेनेहं वा रेषदपिह
इदं ते वा पूर्णात गोपालभालम् सरमिमानस्य वीरस्तं किमन्ये
इदं ते वपूर्णाता गोपालबालम् सदा मे मानस्य वीरस्तं किमन्ये
इदं ते मोकं मोजम् अत्यन्तनीले वृतं कुन्ताले स्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या
इदं ते मुखं भोजम् अत्यन्तनीले वृतं कुन्तालै स्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या
मोहश्चुम्बितं बिम्बा रक्तधरमे मनस्य आविरस्तम् आलं लक्षलाभय
होशोमितं बिम्बरक्तादरं मे मनस्य विरस्तम् अलं लक्षलाभे
नमो देवा दामोदरानन्त विष्णु प्रसिद्ध प्रबोधुक जलनिमग्न
नमो देव दामोदर अनंत विष्णु प्रसिद्ध प्रबोधुक जलनिमग्नम्
कृपादृष्टिवृष्यति दीनं बतानु गृहनिशामामगं हिर्यक्षदृश्य
कृपादृष्टिवृष्टि दीनां बतानु Adhane Shama Gya Mere Akhiresha
Koviratma Jabada Murjaiva Yadvat Tvaya Muchita Bhakti Bhaja Krita Cha
Kuveratma Jobadha Murtai Vayatva Tvaya Muchito Bhakti Bhajakrito Cha
Tata Prema Bhaktim Sakame Prayacha Namokshe Graho Misti Dhamodareha
Tata Prema Bhaktim Sakame Prayacha Namokshe Graho Misti Dhamodareha
Namaste Sturamne Spuradiptiramne Twadiyodharayata Vishwasharamne
Namaste Sudamne Suradipti Damne Padiyodharayata Vishwasadamne
Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tobhyam
Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tobhyam
Namo Radhikaya
Jai Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tobhyam Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tobhyam
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Rama Rara Radha Rama Rara Radhe.
Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe.
Jaya Yashoda Rama Rara Yashoda Rama Rara Yashoda Rama Rara Yashoda Rama Rara.
Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara.
Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe.
Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gora Chandra Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gora Chandra.
Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra Jaya Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya
Jaya
Jaya Prabhupada
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 Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. So we'll read the translation to the Damodar Ashtakam. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge and bliss, whose sharp-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter, and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, and who was finally caught from behind by her who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances.
Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he's crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes, but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances.
By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, your lotus feet, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tined with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me.
Hare Krishna. So we want to thank all the devotees for being here this morning for today's Sunday Love Feast. So today is the 5th Sunday, and this October month happens to have 5 Sundays. Today is the 5th Sunday and also it's during the Kartik. So we'll have next week more. Next Sunday will be the last Sunday of the Kartik, basically. So we want to thank everyone for being here this morning, and we want to thank all the devotees who would have come out early to assist in the various areas of service to organize the Sunday feast. Jai Shri Shri Paramakaranitai Gaur Chandra Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai.